So I'm Kate. I'm a senior quality assurance engineer at Badu, and today I'm going to talk with you about how we actually improve the speed of iOS delivery from QA side. So, few words about Badu. This is a really nice dating company. We have around 409 million registered users, 300,000 add to this number daily, and we have 60 million daily active users, which generate 350 million messages daily. And we are talking today about the iOS application, and we have weekly releases that include from 3 to 8 features, from 9 till 24 bug fixes, from 3 to 9 technical tasks. And I think you guessed it, this all needs to be tested. So today we are going to talk about how business makes us go faster and faster and then go even faster. And 3 ways how we tried to help them in being faster. So the first way is the iOS testing mind map. The second way is QA no tickets, which means tickets that go to master without being tested by manual QA at all. And automation QA yes tickets, which are very similar to the previous one, but we cover them with functional tests straight away, so they are not tested manually anymore, and they just go straight to master. So the first point, let's talk about babies. You know, the first word a baby says is usually mama. You guessed it, right? So I personally believe that the first word of our development features team lead was faster. Well, at least he repeats it all the time. I mean, I think you can relate to that. So, I mean, we all understand why we need to be faster, right? When you as a technical company deliver the feature faster than your competitors, it gives you lots of advantages. You can implement it faster, you can test it on users faster, you can tweak it and receive the profit faster. But this was not the only challenge for us. Just being faster is not enough. We also wanted to improve our high reopen rate. We had small level of involvement into automation, and we were loaded with manual regressions. So we kind of managed to deal with all 3 points. And the first one was the high reopen rate. So in a perfect world with fairies, butterflies, unicorns, it would only get development time plus testing time, in our case multiplied by 2, because we test feature in feature branch as well as in integration with other features. So it would only take development plus testing time to move feature to master and get the profit. But in real life, sometimes reopen happens. And then we start adding time for the ticket being picked up by developer, for context switching, for fixing and waiting in review queue, for waiting in QA queue, for retesting. And in the end, we end up adding those 5 elements that are totally not necessary. And yeah, we wanted to show developers the perfect way how they could get rid of reopens. And we created a guide for them, which we called iOS Testing Mind Map. It consists of 10 sections: functionality, UI, navigation, billing, stats, network, automation, consistency, other, and communication. So the first section is functionality. It's the biggest one, and the main checks here are all positive cases, main iOS versions, all possible input options such as all photo providers or whatever input options you have in your feature, usability of buttons and controls, different permissions, etc. The next section, which is very important, is user interface. So here the main checks are visual QA. It's a process when a developer shows the feature to designers and asks for their approval. Different paginations, press states, multi-lines, etc. The next thing is navigation. We are here mobile developers, and we all know that it's important to test interactions, interruptions, foldings, unfoldings, locking, killing and relaunching, navigating to another app and back, different entry points like pushes, landings, and last but not least, modally open screens. The next thing is billing. We, of course, want to be profitable and check all our payment options. For us, it's Sandbox, credit card, PayPal. We need to check one-click payment as well as first-time purchase. And don't forget about countries with no payments. Stats are the eyes of our business intelligence, which take the decision whether A or B variant of A/B test is leading, so we need to report correct stats. We send server stats, hot panel, Jimbo, and AppsFire, and developers need to make sure that those are correctly sent. Then network, of course, we need to check different cases, 3G, Edge, Wi-Fi, check that loaders and placeholders appear, as well as no connection state. And then we, of course, show developers how they can use our automation. So we show them how to run different functional tests in sections and alert anyone who is responsible for automation when anything fails. So it was also important to test consistency as we are live on multiple platforms. Sometimes developer gets a feature that is already implemented on Android or mobile web, and they basically need to make sure that across all of those platforms, or one at least, the feature works consistently. So the other section was presented with security checks, signing in with different users, going through CAPTCHAs, security pages. And finally, we showed developers that we're here to help. We can obviously test their feature if they need to. And we can provide test scenarios or answer any questions related to testing. And the full picture looked like this. Yeah, you guessed it. The reaction was a bit unflattering. The most common question was, do we really need to test all that? And the second most common question was, how much time would it take? So we answered simply that you don't have to test all of it, you just need to take applicable parts, because we don't know with which part of the application you are going to interact. We provide it all, and you just select the necessary checks. So, QA no tickets. Those are the tickets that go to master without being tested by QA on any stage. So, this is an example, and this is the one I like. You see many QA labels on that graph. They are there for a reason. We do tests in feature branch, in integration, and we also perform release checks. So with normal QA yes flow, we would test all that. But with QA no, ta-da! Once the feature is merged to dev and the next day integration is created and the next day it's merged to master, the ticket automatically goes to the next release train, and you don't have any reopens, delays, and so on. So with QA no tickets, we started experimenting around 1.5 years ago, and at that time there were almost no tickets merged without QA. So in January, around 35% of bugs, around 20% of features, around 80% of tasks, and 95% of subtasks were made as QA no tickets. But in November this year, those were increased, some of them 4 times. So the next thing was automation QA yes. So we saved a lot of time by QA no tickets, and we wanted to invest it into automation to cover all those manual regression parts. And those are the tickets that go to master without being tested by manual QA on any stage, but they are fully covered with tests. And I'm going to explain you the flow. So the first thing, the proper feature gets selected. So QA lead with developers lead, they select a feature. After that, they select a person, so dedicated QA is assigned. The next thing is you analyze the documentation and prepare any questions you have. The next thing is, of course, a proper kickoff, where all your questions get answered. You basically sit in a room, talk with developers, server guys if you need them, and other parties as well. The next thing is you come up with test scenarios, both developer and QA. At the next stage, you select a level on which those tests would be implemented. So unit, integration tests, or functional tests. So the next thing is developer writes code and adds the required accessibility IDs. On the next stage, we implement our mighty Calabash tests. And then after code review and fixes, that's it. The branch of development goes to dev, then to integration, then to master, and the Calabash branch goes straight to Calabash master. And our users get the new feature on the next release train. So we invested lots of time on improving the quality of feature when it gets to QA stage. Then when we received a better quality features in branch QA, we started experimenting with QA no tickets and tried to pass all of these stages without QA. I will be completely honest with you and say that we had a couple of bugs with QA no tickets. To be completely honest, we still have them, but those numbers, they do decrease, which is a very good sign. The next thing, we saw such dramatic increases in free time that we wanted to invest all of it into automation. And we tested this QA automation QA yes process. And I mean, 1.5 years ago, we had hardly any tickets merged without QA. Now, around 90% of all tickets that we do in iOS features team are merged as QA no. And we not only managed to deliver all the features faster, we also saved time for interesting tasks, and now our involvement into automation is the highest we've ever had, which is quite cool. Thank you very much for your attention. This is the link to mind map in case you need it. Do you have any questions? Oh, yeah, sure. Yes, please.
Do I understand it correctly with this QA no tickets and this mind map is that you change the process so that it's now part of developer responsibility, which is obviously to have all these things in the mind map checked so that it's not being merged without validating it and not be validated by QA.
Thank you very much. The question was whether we included into our process that developer tests the feature like this thoroughly and without validation, like it's moved. Yes, it was. So basically, it was quite a soft switch. So we trained them. And right now, when they estimate the time, they include time for testing as well. So it took time to adjust and to see how much it takes them to do sufficient testing, but now it's included. So, yeah.
Do they use it as?
Sorry?
Do they use it as a guidance, like to what kind of unit test to write or integration test to write, or they just do it manually?
They usually, thank you for the question. So, do they include this mind map and the methods in this mind map into their unit tests? They do. We hope they do. Yes, please.
Thank you, Katya, for your talk. My question about automation QA yes tickets. Am I right that you don't merge the ticket unless the QA implemented the test for this ticket?
Yes, that is true.
So it could take like a couple of days?
Yeah, but we made an experiment, so our team lead is very generous by providing lots of tables we need to fill in, and we measure at all those stages how much time it took us to do all those things, and we calculated the efficiency in numbers, and it proved that features are delivered to masters significantly faster this way.
Also, quick question. On one of your slides there was mentioned plot panel. Can you explain what is plot panel?
So this is our internal stats tracking tool, which helps us a lot. Which, I mean, we use it mostly for all our A/B tests and so on. Thank you for the question. Yes, please.
How does it work with your developers? Does a developer have the login feature tested or PR reviewers tested? If PR reviewers, then how many PR reviewers?
Sorry, I didn't understand the word lab.
Which part? First part or second part?
Would you please repeat?
So how do your developers test? Is it like a developer which developed the feature tests it?
Yes.
Or PR reviewers test it?
So the question was who tests it? The answer is the developer who made this feature.
Don't you think they would be biased towards the feature that they developed?
No. Actually, this is why we train them. And this is why, I mean, with this shifting to QA no tickets, it doesn't only mean that, oh, now I can move anything that I want to dev and it will be fine. No, it means that with this, with huge power or big power comes big responsibility. So when somebody moves something to dev and there is a big bug, they would have to fix it, and probably their team lead would talk to them about, you shouldn't have done it.
No, it usually works in my machine.
Yeah, I know that. And you better try hard for it to work on user's phone in this case. So, yeah. Yes, please.
How do you deal with conflict of interest? Because as a developer, good developer should be lazy, right? And you want to do things in a more straightforward way and deliver fast. On the other hand, QA should be like precise, you know, and should focus on like surrounding elements for implementation. How do you deal with that?
The question was how we deal with the conflict of interests. Good question. We actually unite the interests. So imagine you're a developer. Your goal is to deliver a feature and to make it smooth, to make it work, and so on. Imagine you're a quality assurance engineer. Your goal is actually not to find all possible bugs and test like all the minor cases. Your goal is to check that feature actually works. So we unite on that and also check what is around. So no problem there.
It sounds to me like compromise, like some sort.
Yeah, but it is a good compromise. So we don't waste too much time on corner cases, but we perform sufficient testing and then we cover it with as many tests as we can.
How do you deal with the junior developers? Because I can imagine this works very well if you are very good developers, but I can imagine someone, do you have junior developers in the team? How do you train them and how do you make sure that something goes without QA?
Thank you very much. So the question is how we deal with junior developers. We do have junior developers. We actually have a really nice developer guide, which we update, new developer guide, which we update a lot. And usually the process would be for the first trial period for the new developer to go through QA yes flow. But it depends on the developer. Sometimes, I mean, you know, there is a rule that when a new joiner comes to the team, he is a new bug fixer, right? So some bugs can 100% be merged as QA now.
Have you seen any increase in dev time because they are now doing testing as well?
Yes, the question was if we received any increase in development time. Yes, we did, but it was not as significant as the save time for testing and so on. Because, in fact, for all the features, you would need, for all the features that are live and that perform well, you would need an automation test. But we didn't, so we wanted to switch it, and this was the best thing. Thank you. The question was, what do QA guys do when developer is king and basically moves everything and decides? So we have a huge automation backlog, and we work on covering our release checklist and so on. We have really big scope of work, but we changed our job description a bit, and now it includes lots of automation. There was a hand there somewhere. Yeah, thank you.
Just another one. Developer testing, so it's already a good quite good going in the automation. Do you catch any bugs with the automation ever?
Of course. So the question was, if I understand correctly, if we catch some bugs with our functional tests. We do. We do a lot, and this is when developers say that our involvement on the earlier stage is very beneficial because you can run tests and fix your code as many times, until it passes. So we had, on our trial with this automation QAS, we had more bugs found by automation tests than we had by hands. And those were blockers, criticals, like big bugs, big strong bugs. Please.
How long does your automation take?
The question was, how long does automation take? It depends on the feature. For small features, it can be done in 2 hours with code review and fixes. For bigger features, it can be a week. One guy, so we recently started a new application for which when you do a new application, you most probably go with the normal QAS flow. But we decided to experiment and covered registration with the UI tests. I think it took us a couple of weeks, like 3 weeks or so. Please.
How many QA do you have?
Just a second. How many QAs do we have? I think 8 or 9. We have one girl on maternity leave, so 9 or 8.
How many developers?
Around twice as much.
How long does the automation test run?
One.
Oh, like whole suit.
Whole suit, I think we usually split it and we have a really good CI configuration, so I think it's around 20 minutes. And there are many tests there. Yes, please.
I understand that this approach is quite young. You said that you're also experimenting.
Yes.
So let's say you recently started that, so you follow that approach with your developers writing code, etc. for new features.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens with all that backlog you have, and what happens with your regression? Do you do any manual regression, or do you have already automated your regression?
Thank you for the question. The question was, we keep adding the new features, and we still need to do the regression, and whether we cover it with tests. We do cover the regression with tests, but we have, as you can imagine, we have different priorities. So our main priority is implementing some routine tests, for example, release and so on. Our main priority is, of course, automation QAS, then implementing release and all the bug fixes. Sometimes we also have bugs, and we don't have QA to test it. So yeah, we just check it in runs and fix it. But yeah, we still increase our coverage. We track it and increase it. One more hand.
Does your dev write UI tests?
No, they don't.
So isn't it easier for them to write UI tests than manually tests? And if so, then where does QA's expertise come into play?
Thank you for the question. I would try to attempt to answer it, but we actually should do it as a separate thing, because we have developers who would do it better than me here in this room. So find me, I will show you the perfect person to get an answer from.
Looks like that's it for these questions. Thank you.
Thank you.